I was brought up in Griffith Place. My mother and father lived there. There were new houses at the time, up by Keen's Road there, that end of it. And we had 5 girls and 1 boy in the family. So they started building new houses in Mount St. Avenue, and we applied for one of those and we got it. It gave us an extra bedroom. You had to have Tom had to have his own room, so the 5 girls were in the other rooms. So it was difficult enough, I suppose, but my father had a good job. He worked as a carpenter with the Chamber of Commerce.
And your mother's name, what was she?
Bridget Murray.
Murray.
She was from Cork.
And how did they meet?
On the train, going to a match.
Hurling match?
A hurling match, okay. Yeah. They were both hurling people.
And then where did you go to school then?
The Presentation Convent.
Okay.
And I went to Lady Lane to do shorthand and typing with the private fella was in Lady Lane. And I was there for a long time.
And then at what stage did you meet your husband, your future husband?
I met him in the Olympia. And he asked me to dance.
Can you remember what band we're on?
I can't remember the band, but I remember the night very well. I don't know, Debbie O'Neill, a friend of mine, she said to me, there's a fella down there asking me about you. He wants to know, will you dance? And I saw him and he had red hair. And I said, oh my God, we'll go with the red-headed man. But about 3 weeks later, he came over to me again and he said, will you dance? So I danced with him that time and we got talking and we became very friendly. And it kind of started from there then. And
he was McLoughlin?
Yeah.
What was your maiden name, sorry?
Cullen.
Cullen, okay.
Yeah.
And so, and what was he doing? What did he do at that stage?
He was a dental mechanic. He lived with his mother and father, and he used to help out in the pub as well. And when we got married, we lived across the road. Donny's father had a house there, and it was empty. And we lived in that. And then he got sick, and the mother wasn't able to manage everything, so I used to go over every day and look after her and make the dinners and that kind of thing. And every time I'd mention I was going home, she'd start crying, you can't leave us now. So we stayed there for maybe 2 years, but one day I was cleaning down the stairs and she said to me, get up off your knees. She said, we have a cleaning woman coming in. So I left it alone, but then I said, I don't want anyone coming in cleaning up my mess. So I said it to her. So we had an argument over it. So I said to her, the best thing I can do now is go back home across the road and you stay. So we did that. And she used to come over every day for her dinner and tea.
So they always had a pub in O'Connor's?
They had quite a few pubs.
Good.
They had the Mansion House. The one that's in Johnstown's only recently. They had that one as well. They had one in Barrack Street as well. And that one over in there.
So, and then how come they had so many pubs around town today? Were they kind of successful business people or what?
They sold them all off. They were, I'd say, they had plenty of money. And then they were too old, I'd say, they had enough of it. So then at night, the mother would ring over and say, Ali, will you come over? I'd end up behind the bar then. And that's how it all started.
And you got to right behind the bar, didn't you?
It was something to do, and you met people. I didn't know many people downtown now, but I got to know everybody in O'Connell Street. I knew everybody here living in O'Connell Street.
And can you remember who was living in O'Connell Street that time? Like, who were the shops? Who were the...
Rita O'Shea lived just 2 doors from here. Curtleys had a garage there as well. They used to sell bikes and scooters. What was in the next place? There was a shop there. It was more like just a window of a shop, you know, they didn't actually open it. Then you had the butchers. I could be here all day telling you who lived in O'Connell Street.
Was the green cheese stamps there at that time, or was that later
They
on?
were over there where the ESB used to be, the ESB offices. You know the laneway up to Delaney's there.
And then, obviously, White's was still there at that stage, George White.
Whites were over further.
Yeah. And Desi Grubbs, he wasn't there at that stage, was he?
Desi was, his mother,
Okay.
or somebody belonged to him was there.
And then even further up, then you had the bicycle shop, hadn't you? There was a bicycle shop.
There was a bicycle shop up there, yeah. Oh,
It was a busy street.
It was a very busy street. I mean, every Saturday, the pub would be full of County Kilkenny people coming into town for the day. They'd spend the day in town. They'd go in and have a few drinks and go home then. But it was a very busy street.
And then your pub obviously became known later on as a pub associated with the theatre here in Gartland.
Yes, it was great. I mean, apart from the business, you met lovely people, really nice people, but very hard to get them out at night. You could be there until 1 o'clock. We're going now. And sometimes it was later. I remember one night I couldn't get Jim Nolan, TV, and who else? Somebody else was there. I couldn't get him out of the pub. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. And then they started fighting outside the door. I don't mean physical fighting, no. Raised voices. Oh,
and obviously that was right through all the period of Red Kettle and all that.
oh, it was, yeah.
So everybody would pile over to the pub after.
Over to the pub after the play.
And you met loads of actors.
Oh, I met I'd say everyone that was on the stage at the time, I met them all. And I had a book, and when I changed house, I can't find it, with all the signatures and quotes and what have you.
And you can't find it?
I can't find it.
I'm sure you told me.
But I'd say one of my children might have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that'd be a really nice thing to have, you know?
Oh, it is, yeah. And I had photographs of them as well in that book.
And what particular actors would stick out in memory that you liked to have a chat with?
No. They're nearly all dead, I think.
Yeah. But who were they? Who were any of them in particular?
What's his name from Cork? He died. He was in a play in Garter Lane just once. I can't think of his name. I'm hopeless at names now, Ollie. I am, yeah.
But you had everybody, yeah? Neil Tobin,
Neil Tobin. You named them out and I'd say I could say yes.
you had a good gang.
Oh, great gang.
And just in relation to the pub itself then, it was a famous place from the point of view of like even sing songs and stuff.
Yes, and before that it was a real political pub. My father-in-law was a Fianna Fáil man.
Who now? Mr. McLoughlin?
Yeah.
Old Mr. McLoughlin?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were steeped in Fianna Fáil.
And so was your family?
No, there was a split between the families.
Oh, okay.
There was Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. And one, I think, was Labour. They all fought. Their father was a councillor as well, and my grandfather was a mayor, and my uncle was a mayor, and Tom Cullen, Martin's father, was a mayor. So that side of it stuck to Fianna Fáil, but the rest were Labour and you name it, just because they fell out over politics. But that's the way it was.
And then when you said that McLoughlin's was a Fianna Fáil pub, like there would be meetings in there, wasn't there?
No, they wouldn't hold the meetings. There'd be no meeting held in a house then. It would be over in the old library that the meetings would take place.
But didn't some pubs have like a TV would meet their constituents for like private little chats and stuff?
Sean Ormond used to go in there on the Saturday. He was a minister at the time.
And so he would meet his...
He'd meet clients there.
And they'd tell him whatever problems they were having?
Yes, and they'd sort it out between them.
Okay.
Or if you wanted a house, if you were in bad way for a house, they'd get you a house.
And would that be in the snug then, or where would that be?
A snug. There was a snug. I got rid of the snug. I'm sorry I ever did. I was sorry I did, because it was real secretive kind of things. And people used to play cards in there on the Friday and Sunday nights. So...
Okay, and then the cards, like obviously was it 30s people played?
No, poker.
Okay.
But small money now. 5 cents, I suppose, or 10 cents would be.
Okay. And then with the sing-songs, can you remember who in those days used to be, like, who were the singers that stand out for you in the pub?
Oh. Carrie was a great singer. Paddy Green was a great singer. Jim Nolan, lovely singer. Carrie's father used to come down for the singing pubs and all that. And we never won the singing pubs, but we always felt we should have.
You were robbed.
We were robbed.
But people in those days, everybody had their own song, hadn't they?
Oh, they had, yeah. And you daren't, nobody else should sing it, like, you know.
And can you remember what was Paddy's song? Paddy Green.
Soldiers.
Okay.
Soldiers and Dreamers, you know that one? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Noli, did he sing?
Noli was a lovely singer as well, but he was a better dancer.
Good.
Yeah.
Great dancer.
He was a great dancer. Brilliant dancer. Gary Power was a very good singer as well.
Gary.
Yeah.
Oh, right, the actual Gary.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'd all be in the singing pubs, like.
And just to go back way back to when you first started off in the pub, the opening hours were really strange, weren't they?
Oh, they were. They closed from 2 to 4. And Sundays, it was different now. I can't remember Sunday hours.
But they were very odd hours.
They were very odd hours. Closed at 3 and opened at 7, I think it was, at that time.
And closed at 10.
At 10, and everybody would be running to get the train to Tramore because you were a visitor if you went on the train. That was the funniest law ever.
So you could drink later in tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
12 o'clock, I think it was, in Tramore, if you were a tourist. And everyone in Waterford were tourists. All the men would be flying down to get the last train out. And more people walked home from Tramore because of that.
And where was your parish when you were in McLoughlin Street? Was it Dominican?
The cathedral.
Cathedral, okay. Because it's kind of funny, because you've got Dominican, you have St. Patrick's.
Yeah, I have Ballybrick and then up at Francis Street.
So it's really funny how
It is,
all
yeah,
that
how
comes
it,
together.
yeah.
Okay. And do you remember the old library when it was down O'Connell Street?
Oh, I do, yes, I do, very well, very well. I remember it. And I remember it was the labour exchange for a while, that building. You'd see lines of men going in to sign their name.
And would you remember people going off on a boat from the quay off to England and that?
I went to England twice on the boat with my parents. I did, yeah. The cattle. For holidays. For holidays. My mother had a sister over there. And we went over, and I remember we were in a main street in England, and my father was standing outside. We went into Marks and Spencer's at the time, and a policeman said, "You can't loiter here, what's your name and address?" My father said to my mother when she came out, a hat she was buying for a wedding, "I'm going home to Waterford," he said, "and you'll never see me, Bridget, going anywhere else," he said. Imagine trying to arrest me, he said, waiting for you.
Humiliation.
Oh, yeah, terrible.
And the boat you said, was it a cattle boat you said?
A cattle boat, yeah. The smell of cattle and the noise of the cattle. Used to leave from just
By the Tower Hotel?
by the Tower Hotel there.
Was this the Great Western?
Great Western, that was it.
And then also, do you know when you were first of all in McLoughlin Street, was there any of the Quaker families still around that stage?
There was, in the building we were in before this, the Quakers, there was a family of Quakers lived there. They were caretakers, I think.
This is in what's now Garden Lane?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they left, and there was another man and woman came along. Now, I think the church end of it finished when they went in there, because you never saw them going to church or anything like that. But there used to be big crowds before that.
The Quakers were always big business people, weren't
Oh, they were, yeah. Still are. And then you had the courthouse in there as well.
they? Yes. And do you remember the courthouse in Garden Lane?
I do well.
And were you ever in there to see a case or anything?
No. You wouldn't, because what happened then, if somebody was in trouble, half the town would be there to see them in the courthouse. You know, everybody would be looking. But I do remember one morning, I was after opening the pub, and there was a fella standing in the side door. And I said to Donny, there's somebody in the doorway, go out and see. He was asleep. He was after being out all night, and he was asleep standing up. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, but it was funny. You'd see fellas running and racing away from it, and fellas running into it as well. Yeah.
And also, there would be a lot of Protestant business people around Waterford, around that time as well.
Well, mainly O'Connell Street, I'd say, had an awful lot of Quakers. They mightn't have lived in the houses, but they owned the houses.
This end of town was very much.
Yeah.
And then, what was the main drink in, obviously people drank stout in the pub, but what were the main bottles? You know what I mean? People.
O'Sullivan's were the main. They had the best bottle, people used to say, because the quality of the drink, I don't think, was the same at the time. If you got it from one place, it mightn't be too good. If you got it from another place, it would be all right. And you go on and you picked the pub you wanted the best drink out of. That's what it would happen.
Someone came in and asked for a bottle of stout, you gave a bottle of Sullivan's.
Yeah, bottle of Sullivan's.
And they were actually O'Sullivan's, weren't
They were, yeah. They're the O'Sullivans. Yeah. O'Sullivans from Tramore. Yeah. Lovely
Which is
people.
Grace O'Sullivan's family.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is good, funny. And then what were the other drinks then? What were the other main people?
Sherry, women that have a sherry or a port.
Women would have?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd never see, they'd be hiding in the pub kind of. They wouldn't want to be seen. That's why they had snugs, so the women could go in. But
It was like an embarrassment for the women.
it was, yeah, and you were looked down on if you were a drinking woman.
And then obviously you had the famous pub across the road, which was Tom Harris.
Yes.
Which never served women.
No, they never served women. Now, people said, I don't know, but hearsay, that when his father was alive, there was women served there, particularly on race days in Tramore. They'd come to town to get the train. And
Well, then was Tom then very conservative then? Like in comparison to his father?
it seems like that. I don't know now, to be honest. Tom Marr wouldn't, he'd say hello to you and pass the time of day with you and that, but that'd be all. You wouldn't have a good conversation with him. But I believe in the pub he was a great conversationalist. But I'd meet him on the street and he'd just say, good morning, how are you, and all that kind of thing. But that was it.
What other characters lived on the street in those days? Can you remember anyone living on the street that stand out in your head?
There was a fella, I can't think of his name now. He used to sleep in doorways, actually.
Oh yeah, I mean, at that time too, there was different people, homeless people used to travel around.
Oh, there was, but they never stayed in the one place.
They moved.
They moved. Now, there used to be a man who used to sleep outside Woolworths,
Okay.
where Penny's is now.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how it was different, the way people just
Yeah.
moved from town to town.
Yeah. And you'd see fellas walking. They probably wouldn't sleep in the night time. They'd be walking around, but they'd go off into a field in the daytime and go for a sleep. You know, it was a different way of doing it.
And then obviously the docks was a big thing for Waterford, wasn't it?
With the docks, that it killed half the families in Waterford. The men used to go straight to the pubs, and they might end up with no money going home. Yeah, oh, it was terrible.
But I mean, it was a big employer, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, big employer. Now, my grandfather and Martin Cullen's father were, they were kind of stevedores. I couldn't think of the word. They were stevedores. They used to employ them. But there was an awful lot of drink surrounding that. They might go into work on a Monday morning or Tuesday morning, whatever morning, at 9 o'clock, and they'd be finished work at 11 o'clock, and they'd all head to the pub. Most of them anyway.
And a lot of the pubs used to open early for the doctors.
Yeah. One of them had a key to Thornberry's. It used to be on the end of Thomas Street there. There was a pub there, and they used to all head in there.
And what were the pubs in this area in those days? Can you remember what the pubs were there? You mentioned Thornberry's.
Thornberry's, yeah.
And what pubs were on the quay then?
Oh, I can't remember them all, but there was an awful lot down this side of town rather than the other. There was 3 or 4 down by Jordan's now, on the way down to Jordan's, but I can't remember the name of them.
But that was because the doctor was in all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, obviously Waterford's changed an awful lot.
But the city centre has gone from Waterford. I don't know where it's gone to, but it's probably out on all the Suburbs, yeah. I'd say actually out in Balnakill, out that area, there's more going on there than there is going on in town, I'd imagine.
Yeah, a lot of older people say that once they stop leaving cars into town,
Yeah,
it kind of, the whole place got very quiet.
very quiet, very quiet. I mean, if you walk this town like we do in the summer now at night, you might be the only two people walking around the town.
And do you remember when people used to do walk around the town?
I remember that well. Everybody did it at that time.
Where did they go?
You went down Patrick Street, you turned to your right, and you'd go all around the quay, and you might do that 3 or 4 times.
Okay. And you bumped into everybody?
You'd meet everybody and you'd have a chat, and it was a different world than what it is now. I mean, when you walk around the town now, there's nobody around at night, or early evening even.
And it's really funny because they do that in Spain as well, they do it in different places.
Yeah.
They go for a walk at night.
Yeah.
And everybody bumps into each other.
Yeah, but no, that doesn't happen in Waterford anymore. The crowds are up the town or out on the Dunmore Road.
Or out the Greenway, or wherever.
Yes, yeah, different areas, yeah.
Okay,